good afternoon to all of you and regards to all the expert panels. Uh, can you see my slides and am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible on your screen.
Yes, so I would be speaking on how to read a topography report. So what are the basic indications of a corneal topography? Most importantly, we need to see whether the astigmatism is regular or irregular. It is a part of our LASIK workup. We need to rule out any kind of ectasia, FFKC or keratoconus. In all our toric IOLs and in fact for all our IOLs, as a part of our cataract workup, also we advise corneal topography, especially in premium IOLs like multifocal IOLs. And if you have conditions like pterygium, you need to see how much that is affecting the corneal curvature. So there are a lot of topographic maps that we have. So you need to know that there are curvature maps, power maps, elevation maps, difference maps, and series maps. And you need to know what each of them is going to teach you. So this is a routine topography map. There are usually 4 quadrants. At the top, you have the details, the general information about the patient, then which eye, what date, what time it was. It usually shows the axial curvature, the tangential curvature. You can also interchange with what exactly map you want. You can include whatever you want and you can change it. The ring image also, remember, though it is just a basic test, it is very important because it will give you ideas regarding if there is any change in the ring curvature, and that will help in knowing what exactly is the problem with the patient and correlate with the topography map. So these are usually 1 by 1 millimeter radial grid, and there is a 360-degree meridian along with it. So there is a color coding that we need to remember. Like for example, you have all the flat corneas in blue, and you have the steeper in red, and you have the average in green. Now you have the absolute scale in which you can basically, the same colors represent the same power on every map. So it's very easy to compare two maps and effectively monitor changes over time. Like for example, just by looking at these two maps, you can easily say that this is a flat cornea and this is a steep cornea with an asymmetrical astigmatism. Now what are normalized maps? So basically, if you see these two maps on the right and on the left, it is basically the same map. Whereas here on the left, you can see that the color coding is changed from the entire range. Whereas on the right hand side, it's a smaller dioptric range. And that is why there are more colors, it's more noisy. The disadvantage is these maps cannot be used to compare any two maps directly. Now, again, these tangential maps, again, as you can see, these are the axial map and the tangential map of the same patient. Whereas in the tangential curvature here, you can see the map is more noisy, it is more sensitive to local changes. So basically, it is indicated when you want to evaluate the corneal shape changes after surgery or in case of ectasia or contact lens fitting changes. So these are the important things, differences you need to know. Now, in keratometric maps, the usual one which is used is the SIMK, where you have corneal curvatures in the central 3 millimeter zone. Again, you have the refractive or the power map. For example, this is a refractive power map, and this is the axial curvature map of the same patient. So you need to see what is the difference between the two. Now coming to the height maps. So along with just the axial curvature, you also need to know the elevation data, and that is done with reference to a best fit sphere usually. And you have the difference maps like this. Like for example, you have the original map, and then this is the final map. And what is the difference? What is the change in the curvature that has been done because of surgery? So after refractive surgery, these are things that we need to see. The most important thing here is the Scheimpflug principle, which is used in the Pentacam, which gives us the anterior and the posterior corneal elevation maps and limbus to limbus global pachymetry. Now, what are the points that we need to see here? The first thing is the quality specification. As you can see here, number 2 is the K max or the keratometry at the front surface. And you see the thinnest point on the cornea, that is the thinnest location, the X and the Y coordinates, which are important. Fifth is the astigmatism and the axis of the astigmatism. You have the Q value of the cornea. You have the Q value and the front sagittal curvature, the front elevation, the back elevation, and this is the corneal thickness or the global pachymetry map. Now coming to the quality specification, it should be okay. Now there are times when you can have data gaps, where there could be areas which have actually not been checked, and these are seen in the form of these black dots. And this means that the measurement here is only extrapolated and it is unreliable. Then you come to the thinnest location. If it is less than 470, then it is a very high risk. Then you look at the y coordinates. Usually it should be less than 0.5. If it is between 0.5 to 1, it's a moderate risk. If it's more than 1 millimeter, it's a high risk. Then you actually compare the topographic versus the manifest astigmatism. Ideally, the axis should be less than 15 degrees difference between the two and a less than 1 diopter difference between the two. The Q value should be between 0 to 1 in a normal cornea. Now, the anterior sagittal map will have various shapes like these. Usually, the symmetric shapes should have a Kmax of less than 47.2. If it is 47 to 50, it's a moderate risk. More than 50 diopters, it would be a high risk for refractive surgery. The anterior sagittal map also you should look at the superior inferior difference. If it is less than 2.5 diopters, it's normal. If it's more than 2.5 diopters, it could mean there could be a superior and inferior steepening. Inferior steepening is usually more commonly seen. You could have a skew shape in which the S-rax should be less than 22 degrees, and there could be special shapes which are more suggestive of ectasia, and these are a strict no-no for refractive surgeries. You could have special shapes like due to scars, pterygium, or previous surgeries. The elevation maps are usually a symmetrical map like this is usually compared with a best fit sphere, and a high risk case would be if there is an elevation of more than 8 microns on anterior elevation, 18 microns on posterior elevation for a myopic cornea like this. You could also have comparison with a best fit toric ellipsoid instead of a best fit sphere. Now, along with the global pachymetry map, you see the general shape, but in cases of the y coordinate or the x coordinate being displaced, it becomes a very high risk. Now, for example, here you have a dome shape with the thinnest location that is displaced by almost 2.33 millimeters on the y coordinate, which is a high risk. There could be a difference in superior and inferior corneal thickness by more than 30, which is a high risk, moderate to high risk. In all these cases, remember to exclude misalignment, exclude a large angle kappa, or cases of corneal opacity, scar, or other pathologies. Then you could have a very high risk conditions like this, where there is inferior steepening or a global steepening. Now you have the corneal thickness, spatial profile, and the percentage thickness increase, which basically means how much the corneal thickness is changing from the center to the periphery. You could have a quick slope, you could have an S shape, you could have a flat shape or an inverted shape. These are all abnormal shapes. So basically you need to evaluate all these points and differentiate them between the moderate and the high risk. You could have a summary also of the inter-eye corneal asymmetry score, where you look at mean anterior keratometry, posterior keratometry, thinnest pachymetry, and the thinnest location at the front and the back elevation, and compare the two eyes. It should be very less. If it's 3, then it's moderate. If it's 4 or 5, then it's high risk. Now, if you have 2 moderate or 1 high risk, then it's a strict no-no for refractive surgery. If it's 1 moderate risk, then you need to look at these patients and monitor them. Then you come to the Bellin-Ambrosio display, which has multiple D values like anterior elevation, posterior elevation, pachymetric progression, thinnest point of the cornea, and displacement of the thinnest point. Now, basically, these are color.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. You have to please submit up in next 30 seconds. Your time is up.
Yes. So these are various gates that you have. So you have a color coding of yellow at 1.6 and red at 2.6. You have the EKR graphs that you can see here. You have the tomographic and the corneal biomechanical index. You have the angle kappa. If it is abnormal, then a lot of other maps like the refractive true net power map, EKR map, TCRP maps. So to conclude, all the postgraduates need to know about these maps so that you have a good hold on and read these maps very well. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naga, for the wonderful presentation you have made. It will be very helpful for the postgraduates, and especially in coming days, refraction and pentacam and this topography will be one of the most important things in times to come.